Good afternoon, I'm here with Ruby and Peter, and we're here to discover and look around CREMORNE. I think I've pronounced that correctly.
Yes, Joe.
This area is only a small suburb of Melbourne. It was established during the 1840s. There were lots of villas and gardens that were built along the Yarra River. By the time 1855 came in, a new act came in to introduce industrial. So a lot of these gardens were uprooted, and by the 1870s, the area of CREMORNE became known as a very industrial area. So we're going to look at some of the aspects and the architecture that was built and remains from that time. Sutherland's distillery was built in 1889. The factory was built as a vinegar distillery as well as manufacturing pickles and cordials. John Sutherland originally began the business in 1885, operating the factory until he died in 1889. His sons continued the distillery until the 1970s, when it ceased operation.
Hello, my name's Peter. I know all my fans have been waiting for my cameo to arrive. Here I am right now. I think by all fans, I probably have one, but anyway, let's get this show on the road. So most of you will already be aware of Rosella. We've probably already tasted some of their tomato sauces or jams, chutneys, pickles. They did quite a lot. Rosella was established in 1895, but it actually took on the site of the CREMORNE Gardens around 1905 when this significant preserving complex was established. At one point it was the largest building and manufacturing company or factory of its time in the Commonwealth. So pretty impressive stuff. Hey, look at that word Rosella. R-O-S-E-L-L-A. I actually reckon they've borrowed it partly from my name, Peter Seller. See, my sister's name is Rose. Rose Seller. See ya.
Anyway, behind me is the Cherry Tree Hotel, which was one of the first hotels opened up in this area in the 1850s. But could you imagine the rush hour of people finishing up work at the Rosella factory and running in there for their last drinks during the 6 o'clock swill before it ended in 1966?
No, Joe, I couldn't imagine it. I was only 6 years old at the time.
But we're going to pop over the road and we're going to go grab a coffee, aren't we, Peter?
Are we? Okay. All right, let's have a look. Then we've got a train. Look, the train.
Well, I am standing in front of one of the oldest power electric companies, which was built in 1890. And in order for these places to function, they needed to be near water to run the heavy turbine boilers and machines that they had installed. To run, it also had to have coal. So right next to it was a railway line which actually would bring coal to the place. This provided power to Richmond, Bryant and Melbourne. And in order for it to be functional, it had to be close to the source that it was providing power for. Let's move on.
In the Bryant and May factory complex. Now, what do we know Bryant and May for? They made matches, and they actually established this particular facility back in 1905. Originally of UK origins, but they merged with the Bell local company that produced matches here already and became Bryant and May and Bell Company. The Bell fell off the edge, I suppose, and then they just became Bryant and May. So what do we have synonymous with Bryant and May? Because they made matches, there was the red head match and that lady with the curly red hair. So anyway, they originated from this little factory complex. So they did a heck of a lot at this particular factory since 1905, but they expanded it a lot in the 1920s. And apparently they had Quaker type policies in place whereby they did look after their staff. They had tennis courts, recreation facilities. So a lot of staff would have enjoyed those particular amenities here. And I think at one stage there were about 800 people working on this particular site. So there we go. As times went on and we became less reliant on matches, you know, back at the turn of the century, they had just moved on from the flint of a rock, and so the whole discovery of a match was pretty impressive stuff. But then we moved on, and matches weren't that great because we got cigarette lighters, for example, and cigarette lighters sort of outdid the matches, and then we got all sorts of other electronic devices to light our stoves. So matches are still there, but they don't sell as much as they used to.
decided to jump in the car and give you our finishing spiel because it's got quite windy outside. And having looked and having walked around, one can really get the feel of how much of an industrial place this suburb was.
I've lived in Melbourne my entire life, and yes, as much as I've heard of Cremorne, I really had no reason to come and visit Cremorne. And from my point of view, really, really inspiring. In fact, it has, as I understand, the largest number of sky signs. Is that in Australia?
Oh, in Victoria?
Yeah, in this little district. So it's really quite fascinating. Lots of new developments. It's still very much an industrial park, but I'd like to come back and visit it when it's post-COVID times and we have more people coming around, because I'm sure that the day-to-day midweek activity adds a new life to the place as well.
Well, if you're interested in coming to Cremorne and doing this heritage walk, you can jump on the City of Yarra and find the notes, which will give you all the information, plus lots of historical facts that we didn't include in the video because there's so much to see and take in. We're going to move on and see you on our next adventure. Bye for now.
Bye.